Good day, welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Thelma Okoro. The Niger Delta Avengers, a militant group in the southern region of Nigeria, has blown up an oil facility owned by Shell Petroleum Development Company. The group claimed responsibility for the early Friday morning bombing, saying, quote, "At 3 a.m. today, Niger Delta Avengers blew up the SPDC Forcados 48-3 export pipeline," end of quote. The group said the shell attack was carried out because the company disobeyed them before carrying out repairs on the pipes. The Forcados pipeline, which transports 250,000 barrels per day, was first bombed in February this year and had just undergone reserves. The attack followed a series of bombings that rocked Chevron, Ajip and NNPC oil and gas facilities across the Niger Delta region in the last few days. On Thursday night, the group made a similar claim on Twitter, saying it blew up crude oil pipelines in Bayelsa State as part of its campaign to bring Nigeria's oil production output to zero. A wave of such attacks has helped drive the country's oil output to a 20-year low. A militant group which calls itself the Niger Delta Avengers has condemned the killing of soldiers who were on duty guarding an oil boat belonging to Niger State oil firm NNPC in the Niger Delta region. The condemnation followed accusations that the group was responsible for the attacks in Niger Delta, which left at least two soldiers dead. In total, over 6 people were killed in the incident. The Niger Delta Avengers have carried out several attacks in the region. However, the Avengers condemned all acts of violence against military and civilians, declaring the days of killings and kidnapping over. In a statement signed on its website, the Avengers said, quote, "We promise the world that in the process of liberating our people, not a single blood of Nigerian soldiers will be wasted despite the provocation," end of quote. The group also promised the families of the affected soldiers that the culprits will be brought to book. The recent attack was revealed hours after Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari cancelled a visit to the Niger Delta region. The cleanup program of Ogoniland in Nigeria's South-South region has officially been launched. The ceremony took place on Thursday with Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo kicking off the exercise. Ogoniland is an area badly destroyed by years of oil spills. The United Nations Environmental Petroleum Program, UNEP, had recommended the cleanup of the heavily polluted region in a report in 2011. The exercise is expected to last for 30 years. President Muhammadu Buhari was to officially unveil the cleanup program. However, he cancelled his visit to the region at the last minute. The federal government would no longer tolerate oil theft and illegal refineries in the region, he said. The president's visit to the region may have made significant impact following a wave of attacks by militants on oil and gas facilities. It would have been the first visit of President Buhari to the Delta region since taking office in May last year. Nigerian lawmakers have instructed its Committee on Human Rights to investigate the alleged killings of unarmed civilians in the southeastern part of Nigeria. Earlier this week, a clash between pro-Biafra members and security agencies in Delta, Anambra and Imo State left many people dead and dozens more injured. The incident occurred during celebrations to mark the 49th anniversary of the defunct Biafra Republic. The motion to investigate the killings was raised by a lawmaker known as Chukwuma Onyema. Yakubu Dogara, who is the Speaker of the House, adopted the motion after it was put to a voice vote. Nigeria's Mohammed Bakindo has been appointed OPEC Secretary General. Bakindo's appointment was made official on Thursday at a meeting of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, held in Vienna, Austria. He replaces Libya's Abdullah al-Badri, who had completed 4 terms in office. Before his appointment was made official, Bakindo, who was a former Group Managing Director of NNPC, had been touted as most favored to get the job. His appointment is effective from the 1st of August 2016 and should last for a period of 3 years. Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ugbe, says the prevalence of terminal diseases, notably liver and kidney disease, is responsible for the low level of production, packaging and preservation of food items in Nigeria. The minister was speaking at a public hearing on food security bills organized by the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development. According to the minister, poisonous intake of certain food items by Nigerians on a daily basis was due to wrong habit of processing and preserving of such items. Senate President Bukola Saraki, who was present at the conference, expressed the need for food security in the country.
Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services Bill, the Food Security Bill, and the Nigerian Institute of Social Sciences Establishment Bills. These three bills, though encompassed under the agricultural sector, all serve unique roles and have distinct proposed impact in strengthening the functionality and efficiency of the Nigerian agricultural sector as we transition towards economic diversification. I'm also aware that along these bills, there are other bills that the committee has been very busy with. I know two other bills also recently on credit guarantee, access to farmers, also have been bills that you've been working on. All these are efforts by the Senate to truly reposition our agricultural sector. In reference to these three bills in particular, many parts of Africa today, due to the prevalence of archaic cultural farming practices like bush burning and the use of harmful chemicals to control weeds, the absence of regulatory bodies to manage the treatment of soil has reduced the productivity of the farmlands, thus causing essential nutrients that are required for high agricultural outputs to be in quick decline, and the environment suffers it every day. Now more than ever, there's also the need to establish a Nigerian Institute of Social Sciences to regulate our Institute of Soil Sciences to regulate our soil treatment and guide farmers on best farm practices. This will guarantee the preservation of the land, and this will leave behind for generations of Nigerians that are yet to come.
Smuggled chicken, most of it preserved with formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is used for preserving dead bodies, not for human consumption. There's no way the human body can digest formaldehyde. Recently, when the customs seized some quantities of chicken and buried them, Nigerians went, dug them up, and shared them out. There is a practice in some parts of the country now where people smoking fish to keep flies away actually use pesticides like shell tox to spray on the fish and bake on to keep away the flies. And in a particular state now, the incidence of kidney and liver failure is so high that we're wondering what to do to stop this. Some use cow dung to smoke fish. There are many, many problems going on in this society, coming from our habits in preserving food and processing food for human beings to eat. One of the worst ones is from the packaging of beans and groundnuts and so on in polypropylene bags. Aflatoxin results from that. The beans are bought early October, the grains, put in these bags and put in warehouses in Kano. Kano has the biggest traders in grains. By February, March, when temperatures rise to about 30, 40 degrees, because the bags don't allow any air to circulate, the grains begin to sweat. And as they sweat, they develop mold. And the mold turns to aflatoxin. Now, aflatoxin is very resistant to heat. You ingest it, it attacks the soft tissues in the body. Kidney, liver problems also arise. So we're also coming up that packaging of grains must be in jute bags and not in polypropylene bags.
A coalition of civil society groups in Nigeria have marched to international embassies in Lagos State, Southwest Nigeria, urging them to persuade the Nigerian government to implement recommendations made at the last national conference held in Abuja. Leaders of the various groups also urged the government to restructure Nigeria and obey the rule of law as written in the Constitution.
It's a simple protest to ask the intervention of the international embassies and high commissions, as well as the international media, to help prevail on the present federal government to do for us two major things. First thing is restructure Nigeria, unbundle Nigeria. Unbundle by giving us good fiscal federalism, real federalism, not this kind of unitary system that we are practicing. We want proper federalism, even if it is asymmetric federalism, whatever form that recognizes the unity in diversity of Nigerians. That is number one request. Our second request is for the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, and the federal government to learn to obey rule of law, to follow rule of law. We have observed in several instances that there have been disregard both to the dictates of rule of law and to court orders.
Basically, to call the attention of the international community to the fact that Nigeria is teetering at the brink and the world is looking at what is happening without taking any steps. The present government, as a result of its pronunciations and as a result of its actions, are putting the country in a situation where you have crisis all over. You have crisis with the Fulani herdsmen, you have crisis in the Niger Delta, you have crisis with the Shiite Muslims, you have crisis in the economy. And all these are issues that point to the lack of governance in Nigeria. As we speak, there is a serious deficit in governance. And the international community is looking, even as people are being killed, armless civilians are being tortured, armless civilians are being murdered, and people at the international community is just staring. This whole episode is to draw the attention of the international community. The fact is that the restructuring is the only solution that we can have to right the wrongs.
The Nigerian Senate has directed the executive to commence the immediate remediation of Shikira community in Niger State and other communities affected by lead poison in Nigeria. The directive was given by the Senate President Bukola Saraki, who consented to a motion moved by Senator David Umaru from Niger State at the upper house of the National Assembly in Abuja. The motion was supported by all the legislators. Since May 2015, over 28 children have died from the effect of lead poison. The trial of Nigeria Senate President Bukola Saraki at the Code of Conduct Tribunal in Abuja has been fixed to resume on June 7th. Last month, the trial had been adjourned to June 1st, but it had to be shifted due to the absence of a key prosecution witness, Michael Wetkus. Saraki has pleaded not guilty to the amended 16-count charges of false declaration of assets while he was governor of Kwara State. He had lost his appeals to stop the trial at the Appeal Court, High Court, and also at the Supreme Court. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it is investigating Femi Fani-Kayode for fresh corruption allegations. Fani-Kayode, who was the spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party's presidential campaign for the 2015 election, has been in EFCC's custody since May 9th. He is currently facing money laundering charges of at least 1.5 billion naira in relation to his role in the 2015 general elections.
We brought an application for the enforcement of Chief Fani-Kayode's fundamental rights as provided by the Constitution. It was argued robustly by both sides and judgment reserved.
Now, what are your demands?
That the court should declare his continued detention as unlawful and unconstitutional, and that he should be released immediately upon the court finding that he was unlawfully detained, and that he should be paid compensation for his unlawful incarceration. These are the basic demands, and that the court should order them not to further violate his rights as provided under the Constitution.
The Police Service Commission said it has shortlisted 338,227 applicants for recruitment into the Nigerian police force. More than 911,438 people had applied for the job. However, the police is seeking to employ just 10,000 personnel into the force. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, Chairman of the Commission, Mike Okiron, said screening of successful applicants would begin on June 6th in the 36 states of the Federation and Federal Capital Territory.
At the close of the recruitment portal, a total of 911,438 candidates have successfully applied for employment into the advertised 3 entry points to the police force, which is Constable, Cadet Inspector, Cadet ASP. Of course, have specialists in addition. Out of this number, over 262,000 applied for Cadet ASP. Over 211,000 applied for Cadet Inspector, and 437,000 for constables. We record that the process of filing and submission of forms were done online with no person-to-person interface or contact. I want to announce that the State Screening Society will commence on Monday, 6th of June, throughout 36 states plus Abuja. Meanwhile, 338,207 successful candidates have been solicited electronically from the number over 911,000 mentioned earlier on. Out of this number, 44,000 plus are for Cadet Inspector, Cadet ASPs, 87,000 plus for Cadet Inspector, and 205,000 plus for constables. These letters are being sent to successful applicants for the state screening through bulk SMS and their email addresses. I want to emphasize that the Commission will be guided by the rules and be fair, transparent, and ensure that the process is merit-driven. I severally want that anybody that connected with this exercise, whether Commission staff, the police, and applicants themselves, caught undermining the integrity of this exercise will be dealt with in line with the stand rules.
Nigeria's federal government has scrapped the conduct of post-unified tertiary matriculation exams, UTME, for candidates seeking admission into higher institutions. Minister of Education Adamu made the announcement at a meeting on admissions to universities, polytechnics, and other higher institutions in Nigeria. Adamu said exams conducted by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAMB) was of high standard, so there was no point for other universities to conduct exams. Meanwhile, JAMB has pegged the cutoff mark for admission to all universities and higher institutions at 180. We'll take a short break now. When we'll come back, we'll look at more news stories. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello, Alhaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello? Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you are raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. You are watching TV360 News now. A key meeting between members of OPEC in Vienna, Austria failed to agree on output policy. Lingering hopes that Saudi Arabia and Iran would put aside their regional power struggle and reach a deal on oil production were dashed at the end of the meeting. At An output agreement would have helped stabilize the volatile crude oil markets. Iran, however, insisted on the right to raise production steeply. Now, before the meeting, Nigeria's oil minister Ibe Kachiko had revealed that the country's oil output had climbed to 1.6 million barrels per day from 1.4 million barrels per day. Even though a meeting by OPEC failed to agree on output policy, it succeeded in propping global oil prices. Brent crude prices held around $50 a barrel on Friday, while U.S. crude futures were up 3 cents at $49.20 per barrel. The increase was attributed to signs the market was moving back to more balanced supply and demand. Supply disruptions elsewhere, particularly in Nigeria, Venezuela, Libya, and the United States, were also hastening a return to oil balance. About 250 people have been rescued from a migrant boat that capsized in the Mediterranean Sea. Greek officials say 4 ships were involved in the operation, with helicopters on their way. However, hundreds of migrants were still in the water. The incident comes hours after the bodies of at least 85 migrants who drowned trying to cross the Mediterranean washed up near the western Libyan city of Zuwara. The UN said this week that more than 2,500 people had died in 2016 trying to make the journey towards Western Europe. The U.S. State Department has said there was a marked fall in the number of terror attacks around the world in 2015. It attributed a 13% drop from 2014 to fewer attacks in Iraq, Pakistan, and Nigeria, which are 3 of the 5 countries worst affected by terrorism. The other 2 countries are India and Afghanistan, and together, more than half of the 11,000 attacks occurred within their borders. Moving on to sports now, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have moved up 6 places in the new FIFA ranking for the month of June. The team moved from 67th to 61st position in the ranking released on Thursday. The Super Eagles' points improved to 559 from 540 after victories in their international friendlies against Mali and Luxembourg last month. However, the Eagles are still 12th in African ranking, behind Algeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Senegal, Egypt, Tunisia, Cape Verde, Congo DR, Guinea, Cameroon, and Congo. Meanwhile, Argentina maintains the #1 spot in the world. Boxing legend Muhammad Ali has been hospitalized for a respiratory issue. His family spokesperson in a statement said the 74-year-old former heavyweight world champion was in a fair condition. Ali suffers from Parkinson's disease after being diagnosed in 1984. The 3-time heavyweight champion retired from the ring in 1981 and has been hospitalized multiple times in recent years. Well, that's all we have on news now. Thank you very much for watching. I am Thelma Okoro.